dreams of walking on the land. I wonder if the mountains envy the valleys, or if snow secretly covets the warmth of June. I wonder if the moon complains that it is not the sun, or if the stars envy the earth. I wonder if rain prefers a cloudless sky, or if grass tires of green and hopes for blue. I wonder if spring really likes growing, or if fall rages against its color dying. I wonder if the world ever sighs after more than it is, as we do. Spirit of life, we struggle against our limitations. Teach us to accept them. Joseph Campbell wrote that the infant's initial experience of the mother as the universe is the primal impulse of all mythological symbolization. And the earliest signs we have of the human search for meaning are stone-carved symbols of birth and fertility. And even as some religions have become more father-centered, the bond between mother and child remains our first impression of divine love. A feeling where there are no boundaries between the internal self and the external world. A feeling of full, open connection with the universe. Sigmund Freud calls this the oceanic feeling, the purest, most primal form of human spirituality. In the book of Job, we read, "Naked came I from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there." The belief in a return to the mother in death is demonstrated even in Neanderthal burials, as early as 200,000 years before the Common Era. Bodies buried in the fetal position along the east-west axis, the path of the sun, which is swallowed nightly by the earth and reborn in the morning. Ancient mythologies are filled with stories of land as mother. All over the world, tribal cultures describe the earth as a divine feminine, the sustainer of life. The concept of Mother Earth was not invented in the 1960s. As a matter of fact, it is the oldest religion, which all of humanity belonged to until just a few thousand years ago. Naturally, what people wanted from Mother Earth was fertility and abundance. Enough food to keep the tribe alive for today, and enough babies to keep the tribe alive for another generation. But we would be wrong to imagine Mother Earth as some sort of giving tree like the one in Shel Silverstein's storybook. Sorry to give away the ending if you haven't read it, but the generous tree gives up all it's got and dies. The earth is not like that. Maternal nature might provide for the lilies and the ravens and the noble savages. But sooner or later, she will provide the noble savage's carcass to the raven for dinner. And the raven who chokes on a toe bone will become fertilizer for the lily. The lily who then gets chomped by a gazelle that's being stalked by yet another savage. Does this make Mother Nature a bad mother? The jungle is a mother to all sorts of children. plants and fungi, trees, birds, insects, and animals, including human beings. And the jungle is a total sociopath. It does not care whether you live or die. The jungle will kill you, eat you, crap you out. But does this make the jungle evil? What gives us the right to judge the jungle's morals? We, the inventors of the sidewalk, the strip mall, the suburb, serial killers of species, mass murderers of mold and moss and mosquitoes. On second thought, maybe mass murder is such an ugly expression. Declaring war on our environment, we could call it more of a crusade, a holy war. It's not our goal to kill Mother Nature. What we really want to do is convert Mother Nature to a religion in which a male God has generously decreed that land and women should be property of the most violent and selfish men. For 10,000 years, people have been trying to convert Mother Nature to get her to join our patriarchal religions. The problem is, she's an animist. The earth is pagan to the core, a witch. And we all know how missionaries feel about witches. So we've bound and scourged and punished the land, purifying acres a day by fire. Well, it's a thankless and exhausting task, trying to turn a frisky fertility goddess into a silent and submissive nun. And all of our attempts to purify the earth have produced only scars of barren desert. And so our religions give us mythical tales of a long-lost golden age of primeval purity and perfection, a oneness between humans and nature that we have come to believe could only exist in the distant past and maybe in the distant future. A oneness which our religions tell us was wrecked by, get this, Eve wanting an education. Then sad and lonely theologians assure us that our path to true happiness is to abandon sex and laughter, cover ourselves in sackcloth and ashes, repent of our depravity, and confine our daughters in the kitchen. We are told that oneness with nature can only be attained again after death or by some divine intervention. A paternal architect God must tear the natural world apart and rebuild it by cubist blueprints. We have a powerful desire to humanize divinity, to make God more like Santa Claus. Yeah, I can see you're naughty, but you wrote my name on a piece of paper, so I'll give you toys anyway. We try to humanize nature too. Mother Nature, Mommy Nature, we're so sorry, because we know mothers can't resist our empty apologies. Our moms think we're so cute. We won't do it again. We already called. Our friends are on their way over, so we can do it again. That's why we don't say Uncle Nature. Because when we make an environmental boo-boo, we don't want to hear, you ordered your bed, now sleep in it. We want a mommy to accept our hollow apologies and clean up our mess for us. Oh, bless your heart. Don't worry, we'll sweep it all under this carpet called the ocean. In Christianity, it's a sin to believe in, quote, Mother Nature. But if you just happen to have a statue of Mary in your garden and your roses just happen to prosper, well, that's innocent, right? I mean, what could be more innocent than an unwed teenage mother? We want nature to love us, and nature does love us. And not just for feeding the mosquitoes and for hosting her beloved flu virus. Thanks for the ride, freeloading hippie. Get a job, flu virus, you bum. But also just for being ourselves. Adorable little rugrats, critters, animals. Nature loves us, but nature does not love us best. She gives us the same rules as every other species. I want you to have friends, but keep the party small and don't make a mess of the place. Because when we let our population boom out of control, she'll send us to bed without supper. And if we trash nature's house, she'll clean it up with tidal waves. Amen. We've spent the last 10,000 years torching jungles, damming rivers. And as technology has progressed, we've begun posting ridiculous pictures of our pets on the internet. We've littered the world with wrappers for things that we eat that aren't actually food. Mm-hmm. And then Mother Nature gets angry, sending natural disasters that usually have women's names, like Katrina. There is, by the way, a 98% chance that meteorologists name hurricanes after their mothers. Because meteorologists never remember to send greeting cards. So they just call and they say, look, Mom, that hurricane on the news that lost its temper for no reason and smashed the city that looked kind of like the railroad model I built when I was a kid and you threw a shoe at it, I named that hurricane after you. Happy Mother's Day. My mother, when we polluted the environment of the house, and she was particularly sensitive to noise pollution, like when my kid brother said that I took his socks and he wouldn't shut up about it, my mother would turn into a tsunami, a raging tempest, and we would all cower under the heaviest piece of furniture we could find. And I would say, you see, Michael, when Mom goes cyclone, we're all in trouble. Here, take your stupid socks. I understand it better now. The hazard and sacrifice of parenting. That primal defiance that makes a mother so fearsome in the protection of her young. And by the way, who represents the single greatest danger to a child? But the child. Our mothers encircled us. They squeezed us like pythons. They snapped at us like cobra snakes. And how many of us would be alive today if they hadn't? Creation and evolution have assigned mothers the terrible task of teaching us how to fear. Because without fear, we would not survive. Mothers teach us about nature. You know, it turns out I love nature, but I don't really like nature. Nature is mouths and thorns and mosquitoes and animal crap on the ground. When you're walking and you feel the sun on your face and your heart is beating and your problems seem inconsequential and suddenly, oh man, who left this nature here? Now all my problems seem insurmountable and I've got to scrape this nature off my boot. Nature is childbirth. You know, we chose to do home birth. I'd always thought it would be so alienating for a baby to be born surrounded by men wearing masks. Now I understand that the mask is there to protect the infant from the look on a man's face during the miracle of childbirth. And all those beat machines exist to camouflage the sound of a first-time father quietly gagging. Sometimes another expectant father will say, wow, you change a lot of diapers. Doesn't it gross you out? I say, here's a secret. Witness a live birth. Nothing will ever gross you out again. And nature communicates with us in feelings, instincts, mostly from our bellies and our swimsuit area. She doesn't really get it that we're the nerds of the animal high school. We want our instructions clear. How do I pass this test? Couldn't you put it in writing? And so our religions give us study guides for final exams. They give us a syllabus. For example, the Bible divided into 2 testaments. Testament meaning contract. And right there at the start of the contract, God creates the world in a certain way and begins telling people how they should interact with it. One of my college students recently told me that Bible actually stands for Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. And never mind that Bible is the Latin word for book, unimaginatively applied to a collection of Hebrew and Greek texts. I just thought, why would I want to leave? What about some basic instructions for living with the earth? And I don't mean just living on the earth or living off the earth. What about how to live with it? The instructions that I can read in the trees and the rivers and the mountains and the breeze. The instructions written in my stomach and in my heart and in my private parts. We keep trying to tell the earth what to do. We keep trying to hold it hostage and issue our demands. We keep writing contracts and punishing nature when it will not bend to our terms. But when we remember that we are children and we relearn how to listen, then I believe that we can have that mother and child reunion that humanity has been looking for. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our next song will be song 20 in the book, Where Do the Children Play?